The boy bled out with sand in his mouth and a secret under his tongue. And when Cassian Holt heard what he said, he knew two things. The church wasn't holy, and someone buried more than just the truth. Cassian Holt stood alone in the vast expanse of the desert, where the only sounds were the whispering winds and the occasional rustle of dry brush. He had chosen this life of solitude, seeking a break from the chaos and noise of humanity. The endless stretches of sand felt like freedom, allowing him to breathe deeply without the weight of other people's troubles on his shoulders. Cassian was not looking for adventure or excitement. He simply wanted space to think and be. But one scorching afternoon, everything changed. As he wandered through the golden dunes, something caught his eye, a small figure struggling through the sand. It was a boy, bloodied and battered, crawling with desperate effort. Cassian's heart raced as he rushed to the child's side, instinctively wanting to help. The boy's frail body was riddled with bullet holes, each a testament to a violent encounter that had left him near death. As Cassian knelt beside him, he felt a surge of urgency. "Hang on," he urged, but the boy's voice was barely a whisper. "Under the church floor, tell them that, don't let them cover it up." Those words held a weight that sent chills down Cassian's spine. Then, just as quickly as he had arrived, the boy slipped away into silence. Grief mixed with determination as Cassian buried the child beneath the shifting sands. The secret lingered in his mind like an echo, an unanswered call that would soon lead him into deeper waters than he ever anticipated. As Cassian knelt beside the boy, the harsh reality of the desert struck him like a punch to the gut. The boy's skin was pale, and his eyes were clouded with pain and fear. Each shallow breath seemed to take an immense effort, and Cassian could see the glistening blood soaking into the sand around them. It was a heart-wrenching scene, one that reminded him just how close life and death were in this unforgiving landscape. The boy's frail body was dotted with bullet wounds, small reminders of a violent encounter that had left him fighting for every moment of life. Cassian's instincts kicked in, urging him to act, but he felt helpless against the boy's dire condition. As he placed a trembling hand on the child's warm forehead, he could feel a heavy weight settling within him. This was no ordinary day. This was a moment that would forever alter his path. "Hang on," he whispered, desperation lacing his words. But all the boy managed was that haunting message. "Under the church floor, tell them that, don't let them cover it up." The words echoed in Cassian's mind as he desperately searched for signs of hope in those fading blue eyes. When the child finally succumbed to his injuries, Cassian felt an ache deep in his chest, a mix of sorrow and fury at the world that had failed this innocent soul. He gently lifted the boy's limp body and began to dig, determined to give him a resting place even as he realized that what lay beneath the surface held far more danger than he could imagine. As Cassian stood over the freshly dug grave, the boy's last words echoed in his mind. "Under the church floor, tell them that, don't let them cover it up." Each word weighed heavily on him, igniting a fire of curiosity mingled with dread. What could possibly lie beneath that church, and why was it so crucial to keep it hidden? The boy had died with those secrets on his lips, and Cassian felt an unshakable urge to uncover what had been buried. He gathered his belongings and mounted his horse, feeling that the journey into Red Mesa would be more than just a ride to town. Every mile he traveled was filled with questions that pressed against his conscience. The boy had not only conveyed a message, but had also entrusted Cassian with a dangerous secret, one tied to lives far beyond their own. Upon arriving in Red Mesa, Cassian noted the ominous atmosphere surrounding the church. Boarded windows hinted at something sinister within, while menacing figures loomed nearby, guards ready to protect whatever secrets lay behind those walls. The preacher, too, seemed shrouded in mystery. His eyes darted nervously whenever Cassian's gaze fell upon him. Determined to piece together the puzzle, Cassian knew he would have to dig deeper into the connections binding the town to that buried truth. With every step he took towards the church, he understood that he had unknowingly stepped into a conflict steeped in greed and betrayal, one that could cost him everything if he chose to pursue it further. As Cassian rode toward the town of Red Mesa, he couldn't seem to shake the weight of what had just happened. The boy's dying breath played over and over in his mind, an echo of a desperate plea that tugged at his heart. A part of him believed he had failed the child. He had not been able to save him from his injuries, nor had he provided the comfort that every life deserved at its end. Instead, Cassian was left with a moral burden that felt heavier than any pack he carried. He thought about burying the boy, giving him a final resting place under the bleak desert sky, an honorable act, yet it felt inadequate in light of the hidden words and unfulfilled promises. How could he abandon the boy's message to the winds? Under the church floor, tell them that, don't let them cover it up. Those cryptic sentences burned in his thoughts, igniting a flicker of resolve within him. He knew he couldn't leave this mystery unsolved. Cassian made a silent vow while riding through the town gates. He would find out what lay beneath that church, not just for himself but for the sake of the boy whose voice had gone silent too soon. His purpose had shifted from a search for solitude to a quest for truth, a dangerous pursuit that might put him face to face with people willing to kill to protect their secrets. As he ventured deeper into Red Mesa, determination coursed through him. Uncovering this truth could mean drawing danger to himself, but it was a risk he felt he had to take. As Cassian rode into Red Mesa, the stark contrast between the quiet desert and the tension in town was palpable. The dusty streets were lined with weary faces, each person glancing away as he passed. There was an unspoken rule here, a sense of danger that wrapped itself around him like a heavy fog. He quickly noticed the church looming at the end of the main street, its windows boarded up tightly, casting dark shadows that seemed to swallow the light. Curiosity tugged at him, but caution kept him grounded. Whispers from a few townsfolk reached his ears as he tied his horse to a post. "Best stay clear of that place," one man muttered, eyeing the church warily. Others nodded in agreement, their gazes filled with fear. Cassian felt a knot form in his stomach. Whatever lay beneath that structure was clearly no ordinary secret. As he turned his attention to the church, a group of hired guns lounged nearby, their eyes scanning the area, alert for any disturbances. The tension among them was thick. These men were not just guards, they were sentinels protecting something valuable and dangerous. Cassian recalled the boy's words, his heart pounding with both fear and resolve. He approached a nearby bar to gather more information. Inside, shadows danced across the walls, and the air was heavy with suspicion. Cassian knew he needed to tread carefully. Uncovering what lay beneath the church could set off a chain reaction that would put many lives at risk, including his own. The atmosphere was charged, and with every moment he lingered, he could feel the weight of danger inching closer. As Cassian navigated the dimly lit bar, he spotted the preacher seated at a corner table, his hands clasped as if in prayer. The man exuded an eerie calmness that made Cassian's instincts prick with unease. There was something unsettling about the way the preacher's eyes darted about, never settling on any one person for too long. They seemed to flit like caged birds, filled with both anxiety and hidden knowledge. Cassian approached him cautiously, hoping to glean some insights about the church and its secrets. "I heard some troubling stories," he began, keeping his tone nonchalant. The preacher's gaze snapped to him, and for a brief moment Cassian saw a flicker of fear cross his face, an expression quickly masked by a veneer of piety. This man was not at all what he seemed. "Red Mesa has its ways," the preacher replied cryptically, his voice smooth yet laced with something Cassian couldn't quite place. Was it guilt or fear? He continued to speak in circles, avoiding any direct answer about the church and instead focusing on vague notions of morality and duty. Cassian felt a knot tighten in his gut. It was clear this preacher had answers but was unwilling to share them. It intrigued Cassian even more. What could possibly lie within those walls that made such an influential figure so apprehensive? The uneasiness in the air thickened around him as he realized that uncovering the truth might mean exposing not only the church's secrets, but also dealing with those who would go to great lengths to protect them. With each passing moment, he sensed that in Red Mesa, shadows stretched far beyond what was visible. Determined to dig deeper, Cassian decided to explore the area surrounding the church. Under the cover of darkness, he slipped away from the bar, his mind racing with possibilities. The air was thick with tension as he made his way to the boarded windows. He couldn't shake the feeling that answers lay nearby, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover them. As he crept around the back of the church, Cassian spotted a loose plank on one of the side entrances. With a quick glance over his shoulder, he pushed it aside and slipped inside. The interior was dim, illuminated only by faint beams of moonlight filtering through cracks in the wood. Dust hung in the air like ghosts of secrets long forgotten. He moved cautiously, scanning for any signs of what could be hidden beneath the floor. The wooden boards creaked underfoot, echoing in the silence. But it wasn't long before he noticed something unusual, a faint outline on the floorboards that didn't match the rest. Heart pounding, he knelt down, using his knife to pry up a board. To his astonishment, he uncovered a small trapdoor leading below. Cassian hesitated for just a moment, the weight of his decision pressing down on him, but curiosity and a sense of duty drove him forward. Below lay a narrow staircase that disappeared into darkness. As he descended, whispers of betrayal and tales of hidden gold filtered through his mind, stories he had heard from anxious townsfolk. What he discovered next would not only reveal a treasure long lost, but would also unravel a web of deceit that tied together the very fabric of Red Mesa. As Cassian descended the narrow staircase, a chill ran down his spine. The air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to pulse with an energy that hinted at danger lurking just beyond his sight. He could hear faint sounds echoing from below, a mixture of distant whispers and the scuffling of boots. It was clear he wasn't the only one who had an interest in what lay hidden beneath the church. Just as he reached the bottom, a sudden noise made him freeze, a door creaking open somewhere in the shadows. A group of men entered the underground chamber, their faces obscured by darkness but their intentions unmistakable. Cassian recognized them as raiders he had seen in town earlier, notorious for their ruthless reputation. They were likely searching for the same treasure he sought, driven by greed and a willingness to kill anyone who got in their way. Before he could retreat, he heard voices rising in anger above him. The lawman who patrolled Red Mesa had arrived as well. They were not there to uphold justice, but to protect their own interests, making it clear that they would do anything to keep the truth buried. Cassian's heart raced as he realized he was now caught between these two factions, each willing to go to extreme lengths to safeguard their secrets. With danger closing in from all sides, Cassian understood that uncovering the truth would not just be a matter of curiosity. It might very well be a fight for survival. If he hoped to escape with his life, and perhaps even reveal what lay buried, he would need to think quickly and act even faster. With fingers trembling from adrenaline, Cassian found himself in the heart of darkness, navigating a precarious maze of shadows and secrets. As he crouched behind a pile of crates in the underground chamber, his mind raced, weighing every decision carefully. The muffled voices of the raiders above him were growing rowdier, their greedy intentions obvious. He lowered his breath, remaining as still as a stone, listening intently for any signs of movement that might tip him off about their plans. With both factions fighting for dominance, each man was a potential threat. Cassian felt the walls closing in as suspicion settled over everything like thick fog. He recalled the boy's voice urging him to reveal the truth hidden beneath the church. That message flickered like a candle in his mind, igniting a fire to keep moving forward despite the risks. He couldn't retreat now, too much hung in the balance, not just the treasure itself, but justice for the boy whose life had been cut short. Suddenly the raiders dispersed, seemingly more concerned with dividing up what spoils they could find than sticking together. Cassian seized the opportunity, slipping from his hiding place and edging toward a shadowy nook that could conceal him. He overheard snippets of conversation that revealed plans of urgency, a deal that could turn violent at any moment. In this treacherous world where loyalty seemed fleeting, Cassian relied on his wit and courage. He needed to outsmart these men, but how? He resolved to gather more information while keeping to the shadows. Survival meant outmaneuvering opponents in intelligence and stealth. The deeper he delved into this perilous path, the more he understood this was no mere treasure hunt. It was a clash of wills that tested his resolve and forced him to confront not only the truth but his own fear. As Cassian peeked out from his hiding spot, he spotted the raiders convening in a circle, their voices low and plotting. They were dividing up their spoils, but with each share came sharp accusations and growing tension that threatened to erupt into violence. Taking a deep breath, Cassian knew the time had come to confront the truth he had uncovered and face the hired guns head-on. With resolve firming in his chest, he emerged from the shadows, surprising the raiders mid-discussion. "You're all after the same thing, gold hidden beneath this church," he declared boldly, his voice echoing against the stone walls. The raiders turned, surprise shifting into anger as they eyed him like prey. Cassian stepped forward, feeling adrenaline surge through him. "But it's more than just wealth, it's a betrayal that runs deeper than you know." The air crackled with tension as they exchanged glances, unsure of whether to attack or listen. Cassian continued without falter. The secrets beneath this church belong not just to you but to everyone in Red Mesa. The boy who died in the desert was trying to tell us to stop this greedy cycle. The mention of the boy's tragic fate seemed to hit home for one of the raiders, momentarily softening their hardened expressions. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out from above. Chaos erupted as lawmen stormed in, ready to claim the prize for themselves. In that moment of distraction, Cassian's voice pierced through. This isn't about greed anymore, it's about loyalty and survival. As both factions turned on each other, Cassian seized his chance, realizing this confrontation could reshape everything he had heard and seen if he played his cards right. Cassian stepped deeper into the fray, knowing he needed to reveal not only what was hidden beneath, but also unite those against them if there was any hope of escaping this deadly game alive. The climax of betrayal held not just gold, but a chance for justice amidst darkness. In the aftermath of the chaotic confrontation, Cassian stood amidst the debris and tension that lingered in the air like a thick fog. The raiders and lawmen had retreated, but not without leaving their mark both on the town and within Cassian himself. As he surveyed the scene, he felt an unexpected sense of clarity wash over him. The treasures hidden beneath the church were not merely gold, they symbolized the weight of loyalty, betrayal, and an opportunity for change in Red Mesa. With the knowledge he had gained, Cassian knew he could no longer remain an outsider. He recalled the boy's dying words and how they had ignited a spark that led him to this moment. The message of truth was now more critical than ever. He approached the townsfolk who had gathered, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. "We have a chance to reshape this town," he declared, his voice steady. "The treasure beneath the church can bring us together, but only if we stand united against those who wish to keep us divided." As he spoke, Cassian felt a shift in the atmosphere, a collective awakening among the townspeople. They began to murmur among themselves, considering the possibilities that lay ahead. Cassian realized that he had transformed from a solitary wanderer into a catalyst for change. The journey from isolation to community had been fraught with peril, yet it had ultimately led him to a purpose greater than himself. In that moment, Cassian committed to guiding the people of Red Mesa toward a future where loyalty and justice could thrive, determined to ensure that the boy's sacrifice would not be in vain. The path ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in a long while, he felt like he belonged. As the dust settled in Red Mesa, Cassian stood on the threshold of a new beginning. The weight of his journey had transformed him from a solitary wanderer into a beacon of hope for the townsfolk. He looked around at their faces, once filled with fear and uncertainty, now reflecting determination and a spark of courage. It was as if his words had unlocked a door to possibilities long buried beneath layers of greed and betrayal. Cassian felt a profound sense of peace washing over him, knowing that he had not only unearthed the secrets beneath the church, but also awakened the spirit of community within Red Mesa. The boy's tragic fate had been a catalyst for change, propelling Cassian into a role he never anticipated but embraced wholeheartedly. He understood now that true freedom came from confronting the darkness together, not just for himself, but for those whose voices had been silenced. As meetings began to form about how best to utilize the hidden treasures, Cassian couldn't help but feel inspired by the resilience of those around him. They were no longer just townsfolk. They were part of a collective effort to reclaim their home from the clutches of corruption. Cassian vowed to remain by their side as they navigated this new chapter, one filled with hope and challenges alike. With each passing day, he recognized that bravery didn't just lie in facing danger head-on. It lived in the hearts of those willing to unite for justice and healing. Finally feeling a sense of belonging, Cassian realized that true peace was not achieved in isolation, but through the connections forged with others. The boy's sacrifice had not been in vain. It had lit the path toward a brighter future for all.